Welcome to the Learn to RV podcast, where road life meets real life.
Welcome to the Learn to RV podcast, brought to you today by RV Roofing Solutions. I'm Tasha.
I'm Jenn.
I'm Jennifer.
And this episode is RVing Ain't Always Pretty. Stories from the Bumpy Road. And first, let me just say how hard it was for me to say the word ain't. Because yes, I did live in Arkansas for 12 years, but ain't is not part of my vocabulary. So I have not been calling this episode RVing Ain't Always Pretty. I've been referring it to hug a tree, just not with your RV. I've also been referring to it as Martin Mayhem. And if it can happen, it will, because as Jennifer has been privy to seeing firsthand, if it can happen on the road, it will happen to my crew. As evidence,
I think you should title it When Trees Attack.
See, that works too. So I don't want to scare anyone off from RVing with this episode, obviously, but I do want people to know what they're signing up for and the types of things that they could experience. So I think maybe we should start off light. So I've got a few questions that I thought we could answer to kind of get us going. My first one is, of all the places that you have broken down or gotten stuck, where has been your least favorite?
Know if this would be fair for me to answer, because we've technically only broken down once.
I think that's right.
Sorry.
And how did you like where you got stuck?
Actually, we didn't really get stuck. We came up with a solution pretty quickly. We were in Colorado.
We have the road.
We were coming down the mountainside into Denver area. Is Fort Collins? I don't know. It's been a while. And this was back when we had our 13-passenger van and travel trailer. And I was coming down and kind of taking a turn, and I all of a sudden felt my brakes disappear. Which is very scary when you're coming down a mountainside on a turn with so much weight behind you.
And all your children in the van.
All my children and husband. We were all in the same vehicle at the time. And I was like, oh, crap. And I get pulled over, and my parents were traveling with us at the time. And we start looking at things, and we realize that something's not quite right with the trailer brakes. And so, but there was like not a good place to sit because we're coming down a mountain on a curve. So we're like, okay, we got to move out of here. So we get to a parking lot, and then we start calling around who can see our brakes, who can see them quick, who can take care of them. Well, the closest place was Cheyenne, Wyoming. So, and you guys are seeing all the flies fly in front of my screen. This is real life, y'all. But so Cheyenne, Wyoming was the closest, which was like, gosh, I don't know, 90 minutes, 2 hours away from where we were.
Oh, that's not terrible.
So I had no choice but to take my time getting there. And then they were very accommodating. And I told you it's not terrible at all, but they were very accommodating. But when they took the tire off, the brakes literally fell out into a million pieces. They weren't even in one piece anymore. So it was bad, but they fixed us same day, and we got back on the road.
See, I actually have a very similar brake story. It was from our first year on the road. We were coming out of Yosemite. We had gone from one side of Yosemite to the other, and they had assured us that, those spots, there's always cancellations. So we were standing there waiting and filled up our water tank because we were going to do it for another week in Yosemite. And the ranger comes out and he says, I am so sorry. Everybody showed up today.
Oh.
So we left Yosemite, and if you've ever been to that side of Yosemite, you know that it's 10,000 feet at the top of that mountain. And so there's no guardrails going down. We too had a E350, big passenger van, 1-ton van with a 30-foot toy hauler with no slides, 6 kids. And as we're coming down, I saw a shift in Frank's face. And that shift went from, okay, we're fine, getting a little too fast, to, oh no, oh no, oh no. So I turn around and I said, hey guys, put your seatbelts on, make sure they're tight. And Frank looks back at me and says, why? So as we go over the edge with the full gasoline on the unit, that we can go down in a raging ball of fire.
Oh.
And I was like, okay. And so we got down to the bottom of that mountain thanks to his skillful driving. And we would have to drive past Mono Lake, through the Devil's Orchard, past something or other, to a back world of Marine Corps at like this little tiny lake where there's a Marine Corps base where fuel is $7.80 a gallon. And so we stopped there for 2 nights, but no one has brakes. No one.
Right.
So we are now forced to keep going to Carson City because that's the nearest city with brakes. Let me tell you, it is 268 miles from that point to the next. And like you, my brakes disintegrated somewhere between probably the bottom of that mountain and Carson City. And I tell people the only thing that stopped us was like God himself in some of those cases because it was insane. So yes, getting parts, all that stuff, sourcing that on the road can be challenging. Should you make decisions like we did? Sometimes do you have to make decisions like we did? You know, and so, you know, you're making split-second decisions with your family and your life. So it's just a different dynamic.
Right.
Yep.
So do you guys think that those were your, I mean, obviously, Jen, that was your only,
I mean, I've had other issues.
I
Don't
was
get me
about to
wrong.
say, I find this very
I've had
hard
issues.
to believe that
No,
that's
that's
like
not my
your
only issue. But as far as breakdowns go and, you
Right.
know, having to reroute or refigure out plans, you know, that's kind of the only time we've had to really go off our plan to,
Yeah.
you know, get something fixed or whatnot. But
I wish I could
no,
say
we've
that.
had issues. Yeah.
Are those the moments that like stick out the loudest in your memories though? Like the moments that when you look back over the years of RVing, you're just like, oh my gosh, that one time I cannot believe that that even happened.
I wouldn't
I mean,
say the
you did have
loudest,
powder
but
breaks, so that's
we did have powder breaks. I mean, I will say those moments are more memorable, but
Yeah.
we make memories out of them. Like the time I was again traveling with my parents in Washington and we're coming down a really steep mountain grade and I'm going to myself, I'm going a little faster than I should be going.
I
And
sense a
so I'm like,
reoccurring
okay,
theme
I
here.
think I need to try slow down. And I was in a motorhome.
I
I was in the
that is what
motorhome
I'm
at this
getting.
time. Yep. And I'm like, okay, no, I think we need, for whatever reason, we needed to stop mid downgrade. I don't know why I felt like we needed to stop. I was just like, nope, I'm going too fast for my comfort. I got to stop. So don't worry about slowing down. We're going to stop. And I slam on my brakes to stop at this next pull off. My parents slam on their brakes to stop at this next pull off, and their brakes light on fire. So, but you know, my dad knew exactly what to do, and he had, you know, the spray, whatever. I don't know exactly what all he did, but he put them out, and they were fine. But yeah, that was a memorable moment, you know. So,
Well, and
Jennifer,
sensing that
you guys have
reoccurring
got a
theme of, you know, brakes and all that stuff, you know, one of the things that we invested in this year was a TPMS system. And I can't tell you, it saved us twice this year alone. And so knowing how hot our tires get, and not all TPMS systems are created equal. You know, if you sit down and you talk with some of the people, you know, you find out that, you know, some of them are like plus or minus 10 degrees. That can be the difference between a blown tire and not a blown tire. And so there are brands out there that are
Right.
plus or minus 3 degrees, and that's where you want to be in that equation. But I mean, like
Right.
knowing and having the tools on board to handle things like that has definitely changed the equation for us. Now, are they expensive? 100%. They're not cheap to put on, But I mean,
Yep.
I'll tell you, I've
No.
seen toads go down the road, on a Class A where the Jeep is on fire and the owner has
Smoking.
no idea. And so,
Yeah.
that stops that problem. So,
Yep.
Yep. We've
We
always had a tire TPMS system
mhm.
and
We have
and
2.
a little temperature sensor gun, a temperature gun that so if you do have to pull over, one of the very first things we do is we take that temperature gun and we go and check each of the tires to make sure they were reading accurately or whatnot. And is one part of the tire hotter than the other part and things like that too.
yeah.
Yeah, we had a situation this week. It is one of many situations that we have had in the last 2 years where our TPMS has saved our rear ends, to put it kid friendly. We Our TPMS said that the tire temperature was going up and it just made 0 sense to us, and Matt pulled off at a rest stop and, he was like, "This tire smells funky." And I got out and I was back there and it smelled like burning rubber and, um, we I say we. Let me give credit where credit is due. Matt and our friend Dave and a really generous gentleman that I don't know the name of that we had just met and have never seen since. Um, they had switched out the bearings. They had done all of the packing and all of that just in March. So, you know,
Oh, not that
we
long
should
ago.
not be having problems. No, we should not be having problems with our bearings.
Mm-mm.
But it was the bearing. The bearing on that tire was bad, and Matt took the bearing off. But we were saved by 2 things during this drive. The TPMS that told us that the temperature was going up, and when he pulled off the cap, the normally red gooey grease was like charcoal black.
Ooh.
It had been heated so much. And then our hub saver. Our hub saver saved our hubs. I I love the hub saver. If you don't know what a hub saver is, look it up. We saw them at several shows. Um, we actually videoed Matt um, switching out the bearing and everything that he did so that we could post it up on the website for anybody who has never had to switch out their bearing or has never had this experience before. And even Matt, as he was like, and now we're going to put the hub saver on. Even he was like, I love the hub saver. We met them at a show and I've seen them at multiple shows. And like
We
the
should
hub
probably
saver is
link
great.
the hub saver in the
Um,
in the in the show notes this week.
we will link
So
the hub saver in the show notes. And hey, hub saver, we're always looking for sponsors. Um, but
well,
no,
and what
we
you may not know about the hub
that I
saver
think really made a huge difference.
So, and what you may not know about the Hub Saver as a vendor in the community, I do know she lost her husband very unexpectedly last year, and so she is still carrying on the company.
Oh,
And so the Hub Saver
Mm.
was a couple that was in the industry, and he wanted to save people's hubs because more than one of us has had that happen.
yep.
The last time we lost our bearings was on a bridge as we were going across the border from, oh, I don't know, it was a big bridge, Mississippi. I don't know, it's where you should never change your hubs is less than a mile from that bridge, and less than a mile with no exit to get off on, and you have to drive 8 miles
Yep.
across the bridge to get to the place to get it fixed, because you have to
Mhm.
detach and yeah, thank God we had a travel van with us, so we didn't have to detach, but, there's nothing like watching the trucks go by vroom, as like he's sitting there with
Oh
his legs
gosh,
under the
yes.
Uh-huh.
camper. And so with no shoulder and all of that stuff. So, we should probably talk a little bit about how often you should remove and replace your, bearings and pack them.
Right.
Do you know the answer to
Woo.
that, Tasha?
Uh, I would like to say once a year, but I may be wrong. And also, my little setup here is falling apart because what our lovely audience at home may not know is that I'm recording from the back seat of my truck, and my phone is my light because it's very dark here.
Because you got to do what you got to do to get
Gotta do what you
internet.
gotta do for the good of the RV community. You know,
Right?
I'm here for my people. But
But
how far
yeah,
off am I? So is
what? You're on the money, actually.
no,
No,
I
you're
mean,
on the
like,
money with that.
am I on
So
the
it's
money?
actually about every 12 months you're supposed to do, especially if
A
you're
year.
full-time traveling. And so if you're not full-time traveling, that number
Mhm.
can change, but it's something to be aware of and keep your eye on. I could be wrong, but I think we've had 4 or 5 in the last 12 years where we still have had issues with something related to that. And some of that's heat going down a mountainside, being aware of all that. But,
Yeah.
hiccups on the road can be far more than bearings. They can be trees attacking your roof,
Yep.
right?
Yes, they can, Jennifer.
I don't know
Yes,
that
they
she's ready to talk
can.
about that one yet.
Oh, that's a deep cut. That's a deep cut. All right, so here's the story, because I know everybody wants to know why I'm talking about don't hug a tree with your rig. So we get to North Carolina. We had the most amazing journey planned for this year that was gonna take us all the way up to Maine and hopefully even up into Canada a little bit. Like, my goal was to see Prince Edward Island. Like, I had big dreams, right? These were my big dreams for 2025. I was very excited about them. And we get into North Carolina, and we we pull into this beautiful park that I will not name, because I do want people to go to this park because it's gorgeous. And Matt gets our information and finds the site that they've assigned us to, and we pull up, and he's like, "Man, this, you know, it just looks like a little short, a little narrow, a little just tight. Like, the spot just looks tight for our setup." So he called and he said, "Are you sure that this is the right size for our rig, for the length?" "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. We've totally put people there. Your length, you know, I promise you." So we're like, "Okay." So Matt gets out, and in our family, regardless of if Matt drove there, um, I park. He kind of directs, and I always park the rig. And so he gets out to kind of direct the way, and we have no cameras on our rig. So just to let you know, like, on our RV, there are no cameras. We have one backup camera on our truck, but when our travel trailer is
Doesn't
attached,
work.
what are you seeing? You're seeing, like, the
The travel
hitch, you
trailer.
know? So it's useless. Um, so he gets out, he's got his walkie-talkie, I've got my walkie-talkie, the kids are in the truck on their phones, as they do, because, they're 17 and 20, so that's who they are now. And, I've got the windows up, and he's out, trying to make sure that, like, we can pull into the spot and not hit the fire ring and not hit the picnic table and not hit these beautiful trees of North Carolina. And he's telling me to come forward, and I'm coming towards him, and he's like, "Stop, stop, 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 stop." So I stop, and he's like, "Did you hear that?" And I said, No, I did not. I didn't hear anything."
Uh-oh.
The better question is, did you feel it?
No, I did not. I did not hear anything. I did not feel anything.
Oh, no.
Nothing.
So it can't be that bad, right? I mean, you
You'd
didn't hear
think.
it, you didn't feel it. It's not that bad.
I mean, one would hope, but alas, that is not how that went down. Um, our this is the only thing that we can imagine to be true. When we pulled up, there was a tree. We know this part. There was a tree very, very close to the road. The trees were like they were hugging the road. Um, and we pulled up. Our awning was pulled in, but it appears that the tree bark that was sticking out kind of grabbed a hold of the awning fabric as we were there, and it pulled the awning, then ripped the awning off of the side of the rig, pulled it all the way down the rig, flipped it around backwards. It then went into our bunkhouse window, so then it busted that out, pulled it into the roof, so then we had a hole in our roof. It cracked the side of our kitchen slide. It busted our outside kitchen door. It messed up the bottom panel on the side, busted out a taillight. And this was all the awning. This was all the awning.
Right.
This wasn't even the tree. This was the awning.
So I take it Matt was standing on the other side of the RV.
He was in front in the spot trying to make sure that like when we were pulling forward, because it was such a tight pull in, that we were clearing all of the stuff in the spot because it was a pull through spot. And so the awning was in multiple pieces. Multiple pieces. And all I could think was when we had started talking about doing this life, and I had been doing all of this research, I had watched all of these influencers on YouTube. And there was this family that had had an incident with their awning. And I was like, how do you do that? Like, it's up against your board. Like, how do you just not
Now
know
you
what it is?
know.
Now I know. And I was just staring at it going, that's how you do that. That is how that happens. So
Don't
we
ask
learned a
questions that you
lot.
don't want the answers to.
No, don't do it.
Well,
Do not do
and
it because you
people
can't
don't
take it back.
realize and people don't realize how long it takes to get those types of repairs done. I mean, like, we own an RV roofing company, and like people call us all the
Yep.
time with situations like yours, and they say things like, when
Mhm.
can you get to us? And in the summertime, we can easily be booked 8 to 12 to 16 weeks out. And so, yes, I
Yeah.
understand, but I can't like stop the installers from doing the installs that were on the books
Yep.
before yours. Right now,
Mhm.
when this airs, will be mid fall, and we'll be out of most of the northern parts of the country. And so, like, we're booking for
Yep.
spring in those areas right now. So we hope you have some
Yep.
great Eternabond tape, a tarp, and a place to put it under cover for the winter, because that's the type of length time. But it wasn't as quick to fix either. Like, I pointed you in the right direction for the slide
Yeah.
because I knew a good
You
company
did.
that can do the work, but their
Mhm.
job that was supposed to take what, a week, took how long?
3.5.
Yeah.
We
And they're
had to
known to
extend
be
our
really good on
Airbnb.
timeline.
It was yeah. It took a lot longer. And the other thing was that we still had that trip to get there, right? So we took that trip, we scheduled in advance. We said we'll come on this date. We sent them the insurance money in advance so that they could order the parts
Order
and all of
parts.
that. Um we got there and the parts had not come. So we dropped off the RV and then it was like, we dropped it off on Sunday. We moved into the Airbnb. The work was supposed to start on Monday. Work didn't start until Wednesday afternoon.
And
And
that's
they
way
still
better
didn't
than,
even
like,
have all of
dropping
the
it off.
parts yet.
But in the industry, that's still way better than a lot of RV shops.
Yeah.
Like, theirs is actually well known to be a good turnaround time compared to most. Most can be anywhere between 60 and 90 days. Like you can go a whole season and not have your RV back.
Yeah. So that accident was in beginning of, oh gosh, May, I think.
Yeah.
It was the first week of May. And we are recording this um near the end of August, and we just left from getting our repairs done a few
Right.
days ago, from getting the last of them done.
But that's
So,
lucky.
yes,
Yes.
that was very, very lucky.
It could have been next summer before they could get to
Yes,
you.
exactly.
Right. Right.
So it was a godsend, but we're not going to Maine. I will not see Prince Edward Island this year.
Maybe next year? Next year? Maybe? Yeah.
Let's all cross our fingers real hard, because I would really like some Maine seafood, please. We'll see.
RV Roofing Solutions is a nationwide RV roofing company with mobile installers.
One of the biggest factors and benefits of the RV Roofing Solutions system is our product is a low VOC, which is helpful for those who are sensitive to chemicals. It's better for the environment, and it actually works better for the RV roofing industry.
It's a great place to find a quality product.
www.rvroofingsolutions.com.
Well, one of the things that we ran into with this ran into, no pun intended, but man, that was funny. One of the
But
things
that's kind of part
that
of the
we
journey, right?
experienced.
I mean, that's the thing is, part
Yes.
of the journey is being willing
Yeah.
to pivot. And so pivoting is a very big part
Yes.
of what we do on the road. And so whether you're full-time,
Yep.
part-time, or otherwise, I mean, you have to pivot and you have to learn how to pivot. And it's not easy to learn. You just have to figure out what that looks like for your family. For you in that season, it was getting, an Airbnb and moving out of the camper several years ago. In 2016, we'd bought a new to us truck from another full-time family. And what we didn't know is that we'd lose the engine on the truck within 3 months of getting it. And so I tell people all the time, I don't want you to join the broke down engine club, but I'll never forget the day, because I'm driving behind Frank in our van, and we still had the big van back then, and I couldn't see the camper anymore. There was a huge cloud of white smoke. He was just gone. Like, he was gone. He was there, but I couldn't see him. And so I slowed way down because I couldn't see him. And he pulls over and he's like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, you have no idea that you were in a cloud. And so we were on our way out of Southern California. We were out in Acton that week, and we were moving like east. And so we were headed to Vegas for a week or two. And in between, there's this mountain that you have to go down to get there. Well, of all the places in the world, having your truck break down and lose an engine, California is the wrong state to have that happen, because it's going to be $6,000 to $8,000 more just for your engine. And so at that point, I was like, I'm done. We were almost back to where we started. We were like an hour and a half away. I'm like, I'll call a friend. They'll pull it back to Yucca Valley, and I'll move back to there. And we already knew we weren't going to live there forever at that point, because we just knew we'd sell the house a year later. But I said to Frank, I'm done. I'm just done. And I'm sure that you guys have felt that way this week, is that feeling of done. And Frank looked at me, and I don't make Bible references often, although I am a Christian. But he said to me, well, what would have happened to Paul if what would have happened to the gospel if Paul had said that? And I just glared at him. I just glared at him. And I was like, he'd be a tent maker? Yeah, I mean, and so the reality, though, is simple, is, those are the defining moments in this lifestyle where you either choose to push your way through it because it's not easy, or you choose to go back to a sticks and bricks. And there's no wrong answer. It's just some of us are too stubborn to go back to a sticks and bricks. And the truth is, for me, my community's out here. So It's a different
Yeah.
dynamic.
Yeah.
For sure.
Have you guys So one of the things that we with our situation with the tree, we learned some interesting lessons about insurance, um and what what types of insurance we
Need.
thought we had and were told we had but did not have. So I thought maybe we could kind of share our number one kind of tip on insurance for people who are maybe looking
Mhm.
at this kind of lifestyle. So, because mishaps, you're going to need some insurance. So,
Yep.
ours was we had set up our insurance from the get go. We had two gentlemen that we had met who were full timers. They did a call with us and gave us a whole bunch of really amazing advice. And one of the things that they said was make sure that you get it insured for replacement cost,
Mhm.
not for just book costs because RVs depreciate so much.
Yep.
And so that's what we did. But what we think might have happened is that whenever we got our RV roof redone and we redid our insurance to include that, that maybe they refiled it to
Mm.
not be at replacement and they put it in at the book value. So when we were looking at our repairs, we were literally waiting we found out that it wasn't set up for replacement value like it was supposed to be. It was set up at book value, and every time they said, "Oh, here's this thing that needs fixed," it was like, "Is this gonna be the dollar amount that pushes it over
Over the edge.
totaling?"
Yeah.
And that was very scary. That was a very
Yeah.
scary moment for us. So my big tip is, and we got this from the insurance company. They said when you are working in a situation like this, sometimes it's best to go directly through the insurance company and not through an agent
Yep.
in your area. So my tip's kind of twofold. Maybe go through the insurance company directly instead of through an agent in your area. But then also, if you're doing RV full time, make sure you're getting replacement cost on your insurance and not book value. It will cost you more, but it will cover you better in the case of an accident. What
Yeah.
about
I
you
mean,
guys?
you've got to always check up
Uh-huh.
on the insurance companies, let me tell you. Because we'll tell them what we want, and then when we go to look, it's not what we asked for, and then we
Yep.
have to call them again and no, we want this, and it's a battle sometimes too. We're full timers. Yes, we live in our RV full time. You want to make sure you have full timers insurance. Do not lie to the insurance company.
Yes.
Do not make them believe that you are only doing part time or anything else. Just be honest. Go with a company
Mhm.
that offers full time insurance for RVers,
Yes.
because anything else is going to come back to bite you in the end if you end up having to file a claim or something. So that's going to be my tip is be honest and get the right kind of insurance for the lifestyle you're starting to embark on.
Yeah,
Well, and we
definitely.
deal with insurance
Jennifer, what
companies
about
all
you?
the time. So we deal with insurance companies all the time with RV roofing solutions. And we see time and time again where people just don't have the kind of insurance they think they do. And there's companies out there that will,
Mhm.
instead of replacing the wood on a roof, like you had tree damage on your roof at that point, instead of replacing it, they'll just patch it. And patches we know are just short-term things. And so, but the company will come back. I had a customer one year, she came back and said, they offered me like $712 for my $6,000 roof. And I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, but they only sent me a $217 check because I had a deductible." And I was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
"Whoa." So, I mean, like, that happens all the time, where people don't have the type of
Mhm.
coverage that they need for their unit. And so, yes, don't lie to the insurance company. That's insurance fraud. You can go to jail for that. That's
Yep.
just the reality
Yep.
of it. But at the same time, fudging it isn't okay either. Patches aren't always the right answer. You could have gone to
Mhm.
Home Depot and gotten a piece of plexiglass for that window, but you knew that fixing it the right way was the only way to do it. And so there's a lot of people
Yeah.
that'll take the shortcut. And then what ends up happening, and this is firsthand experience. So a lot of people will call us for an estimate, say that's too much money. And then what they'll turn around and do is they'll go fix it themselves. And a year later, they'll call me back and they'll say, well, the insurance paid out, but I fixed it myself, but they won't cover it again. And so there's a lot of people that will do the repairs themselves. And then expect insurance to cover it. And so don't be that guy. Like
No.
that's what I would say to you is,
No.
because that's another nightmare because now you not only don't have something that came with a warranty, you have a DIY job that insurance
Mhm.
isn't going to touch with a 10-foot pole.
Exactly. Yep.
Totally.
I thought I would I want to make sure that we're not getting too scary. I, I hate that. I don't want to get too scary for everybody. So I thought we would go a little lighter. And what is the um, maybe a mishap that led to an unexpected adventure or discovery during your years of travel? Kind of lighten it up just a little bit before we dive back into
Hmm.
the hard days of mishaps on the road. I think I will lead while you guys take a minute to think about this. Obviously, the easy, like low hanging fruit is I had a roof that was completely falling apart and a compromised membrane, and I got, Frank and Jen as friends out of that. That's but that's, like, really low-hanging fruit, was easy, and took 3 seconds and didn't give you guys any time to think about your answers. Um, so,
Well, but
let
your
me
your
try
roof was
again.
sticky like flypaper, so that wasn't really a
It
mishap that you
was.
could have controlled, so, I mean, that
Like,
gives us the
I'd
talking
go
point of
walking
sometimes
through
it's
it and
not
leave
your fault.
footprints.
But sometimes
Yeah.
it's not your
Yes,
fault.
yes.
So, I mean, like, sometimes those
That
mishaps
is very
are,
true.
OEM issues. So back in, up until 2018, there was a brand that put on Dicor roofs, and they had failure points, and there's many reasons they
Mhm.
failed, and nobody knows why, but it's only certain ones, and you
Mm.
just happen to be one of them. But it could be
Yay.
the product that they're cleaning it with. Like everybody says, use Simple Green. Don't use Simple Green. Please don't use Simple Green on your roof. That's a great way to eat your membrane. It gets it just degrades it
Yeah.
that much faster. And so like all of those things add up in this community. And so the reason your roof was like that, who knows? It could have been a bad batch because there were hundreds of thousands of other bad batches out there. So nobody knew why they were
Yeah.
happening. So that's just you got the luck of the draw on that batch. And so you could have, 500 other owners with your brand that have that problem from that year. So it's not a
Right.
mishap you could have
So
controlled at all. It's well,
500 other new friends.
I could.
Well, that also it's like, I don't know, I was trying to think of positive stories that we could share where mishaps turned into a silver lining, where we found a silver lining in a mishap, and it's like an unexpected adventure or discovery. I discovered new friends, but also that's, a time when strangers helped me out of a jam. Like, that's one of the things that I have found um, in this community through mishaps that maybe I don't know that I would have found in a different way. Um, but we've had a lot we've had a lot of mishaps, but we've had a lot of mishaps where we've had a lot of opportunities where people have just come up and said, "Hey, can we help?"
Yeah.
And you know, we lived in a house for 9.5 years, and
You look great for your
on a
age.
thanks. We lived in a house for 9.5 years where our neighbors didn't change really. And it was a cul-de-sac, so it was like a short street. And I knew the names of the people across the street from us, and that was just because their kids were our kids' age. Um, but there was not anyone on that street that if we had had anything happen, I don't think a single person on that street would have come out to, like, help and say, "Hey, what can we do to, you know, give you a hand," or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I've never had an experience at a campground where someone has not stopped and said, "Hey, can we help you out?"
Yep.
Right.
For sure.
And that's been really unique, to experience because I don't know that I've seen that, really since I was a kid. Um, so I don't know. There's hard things in mishaps, but there's also kind of magical things that we've experienced in them, so
For
Yep.
sure.
like right now, I'm getting messages from Frank about
Is that what those are?
about
Because I can't read them
cleaning
without my glasses on.
it's messages from Frank about stuff that he's gonna get us to help us take care of our RV.
Oh.
See, I mean, it happens all the time, like, um, so, and not just from Frank, people we don't know.
Yeah.
But I
We've
mean,
been really
I
lucky
mean,
that way.
you do meet strangers and they become friends, and I mean, like, this lifestyle
Mhm.
is built for that, I think, in so many ways. I this is not a mishap on the road necessarily, but our first full-time family we met during the middle of a mishap, and it was a terrible situation. Our son got bit by a dog at a campground, and the dog
Hmm.
actually took a piece of his nose, and so I made a
What?
split second. Yeah. Um, so Hezekiah actually has scarring. They told us it would grow back, and if you've met Hezekiah and you haven't noticed, that's a good sign. Um, but he's 21 now, and it did to a certain degree grow back. Um, but the reality is I made a second decision to trust this family with my little kids because as we're driving to behind the ambulance, my van decides to, I don't know, throw a spark plug, and I mean, like, everything happened all at the same time that day. And so it wasn't a big problem, but it was enough of a problem that Frank couldn't follow with the van and the kids. And so, I mean, I went
Mm.
in the ambulance to the hospital with Hezekiah, and Frank stayed behind with the little kids for a little bit until, they were situated with this other family. And we, as a military family, we have over the years had to make second decisions on who to trust and who not to trust very quickly a lot of times. And this was no different than that. So they
Yeah.
were the first full time family we met, and we've known them 13 years now. And I mean, like, literally this fall, it would be 13 years. And they are settled down in a house. They lived in Bend, Oregon for a while, and they just moved up to Wisconsin where she can help her family. And so, but they were on the road for a long time. And I mean, we've kept in touch with them for all these years, and those friendships just don't go away. And so I think that, recognizing that, and it can be something simple. It can be, helping someone clean a rig. It can be something, just
Yep.
debugging your, whatever. Um, but I mean, it can be hard stuff too. And just knowing the right people. Sometimes for us, it's knowing the installers across the country on our team where we can recommend people for you guys as you're traveling, because
Yeah.
we do have a big network. And so knowing, oh, so and so's in Washington this summer, reach out to them. And so, sometimes it's just who you know too.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to wrap this up with one more question before we go. I wanted to know if you guys were setting out for the first time tomorrow,
Hmm.
what is the one piece of advice that you would give yourselves about upcoming mishaps that you may experience on the road?
I'd just say it's part of the
Huh.
journey.
Yeah.
Yep. Take it one step at a time. Remember to breathe and find something good in the moment.
See, mine is more practical. Always carry extra bearings.
That works.
They may not have them near you. have the size you need in extras.
So that being said, there's a
on
great
hand.
story that goes back to Christmas 2017. We were pulling in, and Justin was still at home at that point, and we're putting the camper legs up, and we heard them go. They stopped working. We knew they stopped working. And our friends Jason and Stephanie often traveled with us back in those years. And I don't know, we're hoping to see them again this winter. But our kids grew up together. Well, Jason goes, I can fix that. And he goes to the back of his truck, and he has a whole leg in the back of his truck that we can gut and fix. And so he comes over and he just fixes the leg with Frank. You know, you need a MacGyver in your life too. You know, that guy that you know that just always has spare parts. Be friends with them. That's important.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Phone a friend is a real thing. I thought it was just on game shows, but Frank has become our phone a friend. He's our phone a friend. When we're like, we don't even know what this part is. It's phone Frank, send him a picture and say, this fell off of the RV. Can you identify it for us?
for those of you that don't know Frank's numbers on the website, you can phone a friend too. You just have to go to RVRoofingSolutions.com.
Oh, gosh. He may not want us doing the podcast anymore once he realizes that he was just nominated to be everybody's phone a friend.
Right.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking on the Martin mayhem mishaps on the road. Hug a
And
tree,
thank
but
you,
not with your
because
rig.
this is a hard topic. This is, you know, most people don't have minor mishaps, and when they happen, they don't know who to call. So this was a hard topic,
Yeah.
but you really, you know, nailed it, because, you know, knowing it's not about who you know. It's not even about what you know on the road. It's about just having the grit to muscle through it. And so you've done that with grace and
Yeah.
style in the last few weeks. And I'd love to see where
Me
this
too.
takes you.
I told Jenn the other day, and I was half joking, but now I'm a little bit more serious about it. I want to make, those maps that are like, this is where I traveled, and you put the sticker on. I want to make a Martin Mayhem map to sell, and everybody can buy one for their very own. But like each state is like, a picture of a dumpster on fire or a picture of a tire blowing out, or so you fill in the state that you had a mishap. I was in New York and a bearing went out, so I get to put a sticker on New York.
Yep.
And I'm going to put it on the
It'd be
same
fun.
the same panel that's got these are the states we've traveled to, and then we can see, have we had
How
a
they
mishap in
compare.
every
You know what we should do? We should just make a
Well-
checklist for everybody that, maybe that's what we need to do for this episode, is make sure there's a checklist of all the things you should be doing annually and quarterly to your rig to make sure that these don't happen to you. Because Jenn
Yes.
must be doing all
so
of
that
them.
because we
No.
don't want your bingo card to look like the Martin bingo card. Well, from those of us here at Learn to RV, the podcast, we'd like to thank you for joining us. Please like, subscribe, follow, share, tell all your friends so that they can come and listen to our crazy stories too. And we'll see
And if
you
you have a mishap
down
story,
the road.
make sure you mention that in the
Share
Learn to
it.
RV podcast group, just so we can share your
So
stories
that I
too.
don't feel alone.
Right? Tasha needs more
So that I
stories.
know it's not just me. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We will talk to you next week.
Be sure to join this crazy campfire crew at the Learn to RV podcast again next week. Like and subscribe so you never miss an episode.